When I first started investing in full frame camera gear, I noticed my bag getting much heavier while my wallet was getting much lighter. When will this end? I often find myself on this never-ending treadmill. Every camera is followed by endless justifications convincing myself that I need to upgrade to something better. Maybe if I get up to 60 megapixels, my photos will finally be good enough. Whether it's chasing a bump in resolution or getting the best autofocus that money can buy, there's always going to be one spec or metric that convinces us we need to spend hundreds, if not thousands, to upgrade our gear. This endless upgrade cycle we find ourselves in is then made even worse because of multiple camera announcements from each brand each year. Looking back just 5 years, the majority of cameras that came out will do almost everything that I could possibly need for both photography and video. And then, if we look back 10 years, you can find some amazing deals on fantastic cameras just for photography. Because really, it's video that's made the biggest leap in the last 10 years, whereas photography has kind of plateaued. A word to the wise as a beginner: don't let anyone tell you that full frame doesn't matter. Well, does that mean you're going to go up to medium format? Don't be ridiculous. Medium format is unnecessary. It's heavy, large, and expensive. I guess that's kind of like staying with micro four thirds instead of going up to full frame. Micro four what? Each time I've had a 1.8 aperture lens, I have the exact same experience, but I never learn. I immediately attach it to my camera, stop down to 1.8, go out and shoot a bunch of images, enjoying this new freedom I have with my fast aperture, only to zoom in on a few shots and realise hardly anything is sharp. Then I stop down to f5.6 and above and get back to shooting the way that I like. So if I buy a 1.8 prime only to shoot at f4 5.6 and above, why did I buy a 1.8 prime? I could have bought a 2.8 prime or an f4 zoom and saved a lot of money. In fact, most of the time, I'm at f4, f5.6 or even higher because I want to see as much as possible in focus in my frame. Especially when I find something interesting in the midground or background and then want to layer it with something or someone interesting in the foreground. It took a while for me to accept that out of focus backgrounds are not the answer 90% of the time, whereas sometimes in video, they are the answer. But in photography, they're not the answer. You know what is the way to go 100% of the time? The sponsor of this video, Odoo. Odoo is the all-in-one management software with a suite of applications, including Project. With Odoo Project, you can get a crystal clear overview of your projects through a fully customizable dashboard. Whether it's creating detailed milestones to break down your most complex projects, or assigning tasks with specific deadlines, Odoo Project has you covered. Project lets you choose the perfect view to match your workflow needs. Move tasks like sticky notes in the Kanban view to keep your pipeline streamlined. Track task timelines and dependencies with the Gantt view, or handle batch actions efficiently with the powerful list view. Plus, with Odoo Project, collaboration is super easy. You can share your projects easily with both internal and external users, deciding exactly what they can view and edit. Best of all, you can manage your projects with Odoo for free with their lifetime first app offer. So if you're looking to boost your productivity and streamline your project management, click the link in the description to try Odoo for free today. When you actually review the work of great photographers, you will rarely see one subject in focus with everything else out of focus. What you are more likely to see is the foreground, midground, and background with an acceptable level of sharpness, meaning that you can see more in the frame, not just one sharp subject and then background blur. When we decide to shoot at f8, f11, or maybe f16, we get a lot more of our scene in focus. I love shooting like this on a 28mm or a 35mm when I'm shooting full frame, because depending on the lens you're using, you can sometimes get from 1.5 meters all the way up to infinity in focus. And this is how I've shot some of my favorite images, like this shot here in Paris was on 35mm at f16 on a manual focus lens. And this allows you to get your foreground and your background in acceptable focus. And this is something that you just can't do if you go around shooting all the way wide open at 1.8 or below, or even at 2.8. You can sometimes ruin a shot with a low f-stop, but it's rare that you can ruin a shot by having more in focus. You should know you're not a real photographer unless you're shooting wide open at f1.4. But what if I want my foreground and my background in focus? Why do you think that professional, more expensive lenses go down to f1.4 when the cheaper, more amateur lenses only go down to f2.8? So people like you spend more money? No, because bokeh is king. This ability to have more in focus from the foreground to the background is made even easier when you don't shoot full frame.
Ah, yes. The smaller the sensor, the deeper the depth of field.
You probably already know this, but I need a reminder sometimes, that shooting f8 on full frame is the equivalent to shooting f4 on a 4/3 sensor. That crop factor applies to f-stop as well, and I've actually done this before where I compared, I think, a 1.8 or 1.7 on 4/3 with a 3.5 on full frame, and you get the same depth of field effect. So when you are looking at getting, say, a 1.7 prime on 4/3, you're only going to get a 3.5 full frame equivalent of background blur anyway, which can be a letdown to a lot of people. And that's why a lot of people go, I want to go from 4/3 to APS-C to full frame to medium format. But if you don't really prioritize having a shallow depth of field, maybe your priorities should actually go the other way. And you should go from full frame down to maybe APS-C, down to even 4/3. The Olympus OM3 is starting to sound like a really good idea, isn't it? I know, it's expensive, but maybe it's what we need. Would you rather spend all of your money on full frame cameras and large 1.4 primes only to learn not to shoot wide open? Or save all that money, shoot with the depth of field straight away with a small sensor camera, and improve your photography as a whole? This Olympus OMD EM10 Mark II is going to be staying with me for like the next few weeks. I know, remember one camera this year? Who am I kidding? I'm addicted. I'm addicted to cameras. I haven't began shooting with this camera as of yet, but because I've shot extensively with Lumix 4/3 cameras and the original EM10 Mark I, I'm very confident that I'm going to be very happy with this setup with the 14mm f2.5 lens. When it comes to budget-friendly camera options, specifically that use a micro 4/3 mount, I have one favourite that I shot with last year, and you can see my full video on this camera here, where you'll see a lot more images shooting with this deeper depth of field.